My beloved child, pause for a moment and listen with your spirit, not just your ears. This is not a random message. This is not something you clicked by accident. Heaven has marked this moment, and January 25th have been circled in the unseen realm. What you are hearing right now is a final alert from heaven, and it carries urgency, love, and a warning wrapped together. Jesus is calling your name right now, and Archangel Michael is standing beside this message with authority, saying, "My child, your moment has finally arrived, but time is running out." There are very few moments in a lifetime when heaven speaks this clearly. This is one of them. You have been watched, protected, and guided far more than you realize. There were situations where you should have broken down, lost everything, or walked into destruction, but you didn't. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was divine intervention. Archangel Michael himself has been assigned to your case, fighting battles you never saw, blocking doors that looked attractive but would have ruined you. But now, the tone of heaven has shifted. This is not a season of waiting anymore. This is a season of response. Jesus is not whispering. He is calling your name. And when heaven calls your name directly, it means a decision is required. Neutrality is no longer an option. Delay is no longer safe. The message from Archangel Michael is clear and serious. If you ignore this, your angels will step away. Let that settle in your spirit. This does not mean God stops loving you. It means protection changes when assignment is ignored. Angels are sent on purpose, for direction, for timing. And when a divine instruction is repeatedly delayed, heaven does not force obedience. Free will is honored, even when it hurts. That is why this message feels heavy, emotional, and urgent at the same time. You are standing at a crossroads that determines the next chapter of your life. There hath been a constant nudge in your heart lately, a restlessness you couldn't explain, sleep patterns disturbed, old memories resurfacing, a feeling that something is about to happen, but also a fear of stepping forward. That is not anxiety. That is spiritual pressure. Heaven is pressing because time is pressing. January 25th is not just a date. It is a window where what has been delayed will either be activated or withdrawn. You have prayed for clarity, for confirmation, for a sign. This is the sign. The very fact that you are hearing this message right now is proof that your name was spoken in the courts of heaven. Jesus himself has acknowledged your tears, the silent prayers you whispered when no one else was around, the questions you were afraid to ask out loud. Archangel Michael says you have been trained through difficulty. Nothing you went through was wasted. The betrayals, the setbacks, the seasons where you felt invisible, they were shaping you for what comes next. But here is the truth most people never hear. Destiny requires participation. Miracles require movement. Angels move when you move. And this is where many miss it. You have been waiting for everything to feel safe before you act. Heaven is waiting for you to act before everything becomes safe. That is why this feels uncomfortable. That is why your comfort zone has started to feel suffocating. You were never meant to stay where you are. And deep down, you know it. Jesus is calling your name right now not to scare you, but to awaken you. Love sometimes sounds like urgency when time is short. Archangel Michael is not threatening. He is warning because he sees what you cannot see. He sees both paths. One leads to alignment, acceleration, and protection. The other leads to delay, confusion, and silence from the helpers you once relied on. And hear this clearly. Ignoring this message does not make it disappear. It only makes the next season harder. You may be thinking, why me? Why now? Because you are ready, even if you don't feel ready. Heaven does not call the qualifying, it qualifies the called. What is being asked of you is not perfection. It is obedience. A step. A decision. A surrender of what you've been clinging to out of fear. There is something specific you have been avoiding. A conversation. A move. A commitment. A release. You already know what it is. That tight feeling in your chest right now is confirmation. Archangel Michael says this is the very thing tied to your breakthrough. Avoiding it has delayed your moment. Facing it will unlock it. January 25th marks a turning point. Either you step into alignment, or you step into unnecessary struggle. Heaven will still love you either way, but only one path carries divine acceleration. Only one path keeps angelic assistance active around your life. Do not treat this as just another video. Do not brush this off as coincidence. This message found you because your name was spoken. Jesus is calling you not for punishment but for purpose. Archangel Michael stands ready, sword drawn, not against you, but against what has been holding you back. The next few moments you spend reflecting on this will matter more than you realize. Listen closely. Your spirit already knows what to do. And this is only the beginning of what heaven wants you to understand today. Chosen one, breathe and let this sink deeper into your spirit. What you felt at the end of the last message was not imagination. It was recognition. Heaven does not repeat itself unnecessarily, and the reason this message continues is because something critical is unfolding around you right now. Archangel Michael is still present, still watching, still guarding the edges of this moment, because what comes next depends on how you respond in awareness, not fear. There is a misunderstanding many people carry. They believe warnings from heaven are meant to frighten. But divine warnings are actually invitations. They are moments of mercy where God says, I care enough to tell you before it shifts. Jesus calling your name is not about pressure. It is about proximity. When your name is spoken in heaven, it means you are being drawn closer, not pushed away. Right now, there is a spiritual noise trying to distract you. Busyness, doubt, overthinking. Even small irritations have increased lately. That is not random. When heaven prepares to move you forward, resistance often increases first. Archangel Michael reveals that the resistance you feel is not because you are weak, but because what is ahead of you is weighty. Your next step carries influence beyond yourself. You have underestimated how much your obedience affects others. There are people connected to your yes who are waiting without knowing it. Your delay has delayed relief for someone else. This is why January 25th carries such intensity. It is not only a personal moment, it is a chain reaction moment. When you align, others benefit. When you hesitate, others remain stuck. Jesus is calling your name because he wants your attention, not your perfection. You keep replaying past mistakes in your mind, telling yourself you missed your chance. Hear this clearly. You did not miss it. You were being preserved. If you had stepped into this assignment earlier, it would have crushed you. And now, you have the strength, discernment, and spiritual maturity to carry it. Archangel Michael says you are protected, but protection has a flow. It moves with obedience. When you walk where you are sent, covering increases. When you remain where you are comfortable, covering becomes limited. That is why the last season felt tight, frustrating, and repetitive. You were growing beyond the space you were standing in. Notice how certain doors no longer excite you. Certain conversations feel empty. Certain habits feel heavy. That is not boredom. That is misalignment being exposed. Heaven is gently but firmly repositioning you. And repositioning always feels like loss before it feels like gain. There is something important you must understand right now. Angels do not abandon without reason. They step aside when a lesson must be learned through choice. Archangel Michael's message is not about fear. It is about urgency rooted in love. Heaven does not want you learning the hard way what you could receive through obedience. This message is also a reminder that you are not alone. If you feel this resonating, it is because your spirit recognizes truth. And if this is touching you deeply, I want you to pause for a second and acknowledge it. Let this message be a marker. Like this message as an act of agreement. Share it with someone who may also be standing at a crossroads. Comment your awareness. Your engagement is not just interaction, it is alignment. And if this space continues to confirm what God is speaking to you, make sure you stay connected by subscribing and supporting this channel. This is how messages like this continue reaching the ones who need them most. Archangel Michael reveals that the next phase of your life will require courage, not confidence. Confidence comes later. Courage comes first. You do not need to see the full picture. You only need to take the next right step. Heaven responds to movement, not perfection. Jesus calling your name is also a call back to intimacy. Not religion. Not routine. Relationship. There has been distance lately, not because God moved, but because distractions increased. This is your invitation to return to stillness, to listen again, to realign your heart. Even 5 sincere minutes can shift an entire day. Pay attention in the coming hours and days. Signs will come softly. A repeated thought. A confirmation through unexpected words. A peace that settles when you finally decide. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Archangel Michael says once you choose alignment, momentum will replace hesitation. And listen closely. This next part matters deeply. What comes after this moment is not something you want to miss. What heaven reveals next will connect everything you've been feeling but couldn't explain. Stay with this message, because the unfolding truth ahead will bring clarity you have been asking for without knowing how to ask. My precious one, lean in with your heart, because what is being revealed now is sacred. This is where many feel the weight of heaven most strongly, not because they are in danger, but because truth is pressing against the soul. Archangel Michael is speaking with clarity in this moment, saying that what you are sensing is the unveiling of responsibility. Not burden, responsibility. There is a difference. Burden drains you. Responsibility activates you. You have reached a point where excuses no longer comfort you. What once felt like reasonable delay now feels like inner tension. This is not condemnation. This is awakening. Jesus calling your name right now is not about correcting your past, but about commissioning your future. Heaven is not reviewing your failures. It is measuring your readiness. There is a divine trust being extended to you. Few understand this, but when God entrusts someone with timing-sensitive instruction, it is because they have already proven faithful in unseen ways. You stayed when it would have been easier to walk away. You endured silence without turning bitter. You kept believing even when results were delayed. His moments were recorded. Archangel Michael confirms that your perseverance is why this alert is personal. Yet here is the truth that must be spoken gently but clearly. Spiritual seasons do not wait forever. Opportunities assigned by heaven are time-bound. Not because God is impatient, but because purpose moves with rhythm. Missed rhythm creates dissonance. This is why heaven is calling out now. before dissonance turns into distance. You may have noticed a strange feeling lately, as if you are standing between two versions of yourself. One that feels familiar and safe, and another that feels unknown but alive. This tension is not confusion, it is transition. Jesus stands in the middle of that space, calling you forward. Archangel Michael stands behind you, ensuring nothing follows you that should not. This is also the moment where fear tries to disguise itself as wisdom. Thoughts like wait a little longer, get more prepared, or what if I fail? Sound reasonable, but they are rooted in self-protection, not obedience. Heaven does not require you to be fearless. It requires you to be willing. Understand this clearly. When angels step aside, it is not punishment. It is consequence. Protection flows most freely when purpose is pursued. Archangel Michael says the warning is given because protection is still active. Silence would be far more dangerous. The fact that you are hearing this now means heaven is still inviting you in. January 25th represents alignment, not loss. It is the moment where the line is drawn between drifting and deciding. You are not being rushed. You are being reminded. Jesus calling your name is heaven's way of saying, do not shrink back now. You are closer than you think. One decision away. One act of surrender away. There is also healing attached to your obedience. What you thought was unrelated pain will suddenly make sense. The pressure you endured will be repurposed into authority. The tears you shed privately will water someone else's breakthrough. This is how God works. Nothing wasted, everything redeemed. Archangel Michael says there is a mantle waiting, but mantles are not placed on hesitation. They rest on yielded hearts. You do not need to announce your obedience. You simply need to walk it out. Heaven will do the announcing. Before this message closes, receive this moment as a holy checkpoint. Do not rush past it. Let it mark you. Let it anchor you. This is not just information. It is impartation. Type I receive the call in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 945 has just been released. And now, hear this with clarity and authority. If this message has touched you, it is because God is using this channel as a river, not a reservoir. What flows through here is meant to reach souls who are desperate for direction, hope, and truth. I am speaking directly to you now. Your support is not random. It is prophetic. When you sow into this work through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are placing oil into the lamp that keeps this light burning. The word says that when seed is sown in good soil, harvest follows in its season, pressed down and overflowing. This is not about money. It is about obedience unlocking impact. Your giving becomes a voice reaching someone who is one prayer away from giving up. The PayPal link is waiting in the description, and heaven is watching your response. Do not delay what God is prompting you to do. Act now. Release your seed. And as you do, I declare that what you support will come back to you multiplied in peace, clarity, and divine acceleration. Beloved soul, what unfolds now is quieter, but far deeper. This is the place where heaven stops shouting and starts searching the heart. Archangel Michael steps back slightly here, not because the urgency has faded, but because discernment must now rise within you. The noise fades so that truth can speak without resistance. This is the sacred pause between instruction and action. Many misunderstand this stage. They think silence means abandonment. In reality, silence is often confirmation. When heaven has spoken clearly, it waits to see what the heart will choose when emotions settle. Jesus calling your name was not meant to rush you into panic. but to awaken you into awareness. Awareness precedes alignment. You may notice that after the intensity, a strange calm tries to enter. Part of you wants to return to normal routines, distractions, familiar comforts. That is the test. Familiarity often disguises itself as peace, but true peace carries clarity, not avoidance. Archangel Michael reveals that this is the moment where old patterns try to pull you back, not with force, but with familiarity. You are being asked to choose intention over instinct. There is something deeply personal being addressed here. Not everyone hearing this is called to the same action, but everyone is called to honesty. You already know where you have been half committed. You already know where you have been delaying under the name of patience. Heaven is not angry about it, but it will not ignore it either. Jesus calling your name is an invitation into maturity. Not the kind that looks strong on the outside, but the kind that is rooted on the inside. This is where faith stops being emotional and starts becoming deliberate. Where prayer turns into posture. Where belief becomes obedience. Archangel Michael says this is also the moment when spiritual identity is refined. You are no longer allowed to see yourself as small, unprepared, or unworthy. That version of you cannot carry what is coming next. The calling ahead requires authority, and authority comes from alignment, not effort. You may feel exposed in ways you didn't expect. Old insecurities rising. Questions about your worth surfacing again. This is not regression. This is purification. Anything that cannot go where you are going is being brought to the surface so it can be released. Heaven is gentle but thorough. Do not be surprised if relationships begin to shift subtly. Some connections may feel distant. Others may feel strained. This is not punishment. This is recalibration. When your inner alignment changes, your outer world must adjust. Archangel Michael ensures that nothing essential is lost, but not everything familiar is meant to remain. This is also a season where discernment sharpens. You will begin to see intentions more clearly, including your own. What once confused you will start to make sense. What once tempted you will lose its grip. This clarity is a gift, but it requires honesty to maintain. Jesus calling your name is also a call to simplify. Complexity has been draining your energy. Too many options. Too many voices. Too many internal negotiations. Heaven is drawing you back to the core. One direction. One decision at a time. One step of obedience today is worth more than 1,000 plans for tomorrow. Archangel Michael says there is protection in simplicity. When your focus is clear, interference loses access. This is why distractions have been so aggressive lately. Not because you are weak, but because your focus is powerful. You are not behind. You are being positioned. Take note of what brings peace now. Not excitement, not adrenaline, but peace. Peace is the compass. If something aligns you inwardly, even if it scares you outwardly, that is a sign. Fear often accompanies growth, but peace confirms direction. There is also rest being offered here. Not escape, but restoration. Heaven does not drive you forward exhausted. It strengthens you before it sends you. If you feel tired, it is because you have been carrying weight that was never meant to be yours. Lay it down. You do not have to earn what is already assigned. This part of the journey is about consent. Heaven has spoken. The warning has been given. The invitation stands. And now the question is not whether God is faithful, but whether you are willing. Archangel Michael remains near, sword lowered, watchful, waiting. Jesus is still calling your name, not louder but clearer. The next movement will not come from pressure, but from resolve. Let this moment settle. Let it shape you. What comes next will require the depth you are forming right now. Beloved one, now we move into a place of revelation that many never reach, not because it is hidden, but because it requires honesty without defense. This is where heaven begins to show you not only where you are going, but why the journey had to be this way. Archangel Michael speaks here with firmness and compassion, revealing that understanding is about to replace confusion, but only if you allow truth to settle without resistance. There has been a quiet wrestling inside you, not with God, but with yourself. A battle between who you have been and who you are becoming. You have sensed it in moments of stillness, when distractions fade and your thoughts grow louder. This inner tension is not weakness. It is transformation. Jesus calling your name is not pulling you backward into regret, but forward into responsibility. Many people ask God to use them, but few are prepared for the refining that follows. You have walked through refinement without even realizing it. Loss taught you discernment. Delay taught you patience. Disappointment taught you boundaries. You did not just survive these seasons. You were shaped by them. Archangel Michael confirms that you now carry wisdom that cannot be taught, only live. This is why heaven trusts you with timing-sensitive instruction. What comes next will require you to stand without needing constant reassurance. The season ahead is not about signs every step of the way. It is about conviction. You will not always feel emotional confirmation, but you will have spiritual certainty. This is a higher level of faith, one that moves even when emotions are quiet. You may notice that some prayers are being answered differently than you expected. Not because God is withholding, but because He is upgrading your perspective. What you once asked for would have limited you. What is coming will stretch you, but it will also sustain you. Jesus calling your name now is a reminder that He sees the full picture, not just the piece you are holding. Archangel Michael reveals that one of your greatest lessons has been restraint. Knowing when not to speak, when not to react, when not to chase what looks appealing but lacks substance. This restraint was training. The next season will require authority, and authority without restraint becomes destruction. You were being prepared to lead without losing yourself. There is also a release happening here. Old guilt, old self-blame, old questions about what if. These things cannot travel with you. Heaven is not interested in rehearsing your past. It is focused on your alignment. When God forgives, He does not revisit. If something keeps resurfacing, it is not from heaven. It is an invitation for you to finally let go. You are not called to be perfect. You are called to be available. January 25th continues to echo because it represents a decision point, not a deadline of fear. It is the moment where intention becomes action, where awareness becomes agreement. You do not need to announce anything publicly. This decision is first made in the heart. Heaven sees it even when no one else does. Archangel Michael says something important here. Once you choose alignment, resistance does not disappear immediately, but it loses authority. The enemy only argues loudly when he knows influence is slipping away. Do not interpret resistance as failure. Often, it is confirmation that you are moving correctly. You may also feel an urge to simplify your life, to clear space, to say no more often. This is wisdom rising. What you are stepping into requires room to grow. Overcrowded lives suffocate calling. Heaven is helping you make space without guilt. Jesus calling your name is also restoring your confidence, but not the loud kind. The quiet kind. The kind that does not need validation. The kind that moves steadily, even when unnoticed. This confidence will carry you through moments where applause is absent but impact is present. Do not rush what is unfolding internally. Roots grow in darkness before fruit appears in light. What is forming in you now will soon be visible, but it must be stable first. Archangel Michael guards this process closely, ensuring nothing interferes prematurely. You are learning to trust God without conditions. Not if this happens, then I'll obey, but because you spoke, I will move. This shift changes everything. Heaven responds quickly to surrendered hearts. As this part comes to a close, let this truth anchor you. You are not late. You are not forgotten. And you are not unqualified. You are being aligned. The calling ahead is real. The timing is intentional. And the strength rising in you is proof that heaven has not only called your name, it has prepared your spirit for what comes next. Beloved child, this is where movement begins to replace contemplation. Up to now, heaven has been shaping your understanding, softening resistance, and strengthening resolve. But now, Archangel Michael speaks with a tone of readiness. Not urgency that panics, but readiness that prepares. This is the threshold where inner agreement starts expressing itself through outward steps. There is a subtle shift happening within you. You may not be able to explain it fully, but something feels decided, even if details remain unclear. This is important. Heaven does not wait for certainty of outcome, it waits for certainty of heart. Jesus calling your name has already done its work. You are no longer wondering if this message applies to you. You are now discerning how to respond. This is often the moment when people hesitate again, not because they doubt God, but because they fear responsibility. Responsibility changes how you live. It changes how you spend your time, who you listen to, what you tolerate. Alignment costs comfort, but it pays in peace. Archangel Michael confirms that what you are stepping into will require discipline, but it will also release joy you have not felt in a long time. You are beginning to see clearly what must be adjusted. Not everything at once, but enough to take the next step. Maybe it is a boundary that must be enforced. Maybe it is a habit that must be released. Maybe it is a conversation that must finally happen. Heaven rarely asks for everything at once. It asks for obedience in sequence. Do not underestimate small acts of obedience. One decision made in faith can realign an entire future. This is how God works, quietly, precisely, intentionally. Jesus calling your name is not about dramatic gestures. It is about faithful steps taken consistently. Archangel Michael also reveals that this is where spiritual authority begins to grow. Authority does not come from titles or recognition. It comes from obedience carried out when no one is watching. You are being trusted with influence because you have learned restraint. You are being prepared to lead because you learned how to listen. At this stage, it is important to stay connected. Messages like this are not meant to be consumed and forgotten. They are meant to be revisited, reflected on, and lived out. If this word is confirming what God has already been stirring in you, let that agreement be visible. Like this message as a sign of alignment. Share it with someone who may need clarity right now. Comment what resonated with you, not for attention, but for accountability. And if you want to remain connected to messages that speak with depth and discernment, make sure you are subscribed and part of this growing community. What you support continues to reach those who are listening for heaven's voice. There is also a refining of focus happening now. Distractions that once held power are losing their appeal. You may feel drawn to quiet, to reflection, to intentional action. This is not isolation. It is preparation. Even Jesus withdrew before major movements. Stillness is not stagnation when it is guided by purpose. Archangel Michael assures you that you are not walking alone into this next phase. Assistance is still present. Guidance is still active. But direction becomes clearer as you move. Many want the full map before taking the first step. Heaven gives light for the next step, then reveals more along the way. Trust is built in motion. You may also feel tested in subtle ways. Opportunities to compromise. Invitations to return to old patterns. These are not setbacks. They are confirmations. What once tempted you now reveals your growth. When something no longer fits, it means you have outgrown it. Jesus calling your name also signals restoration of confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. You are beginning to trust that God truly knows what He is doing with your life. This trust quiets anxiety. It is steady deceit. It anchors you when outcomes are not immediate. Be patient with yourself in this stage. Growth does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it feels like consistency, choosing truth over comfort, choosing obedience over convenience. These choices are shaping you more than you realize. As you continue listening, something important is about to be revealed next. Something that will connect your calling with your current circumstances in a way you have not seen before. Hold on to this moment. What comes next will bring clarity that many wait years to receive. My dear one, what opens now is deeper understanding, the kind that does not come through effort but through surrender. This is the stage where heaven begins to connect the invisible dots of your life. Things that once felt random, unfair, or meaningless are now slowly rearranging themselves into purpose. Archangel Michael speaks here with quiet authority, revealing that clarity is no longer something you must chase. It is something that is coming to meet you. You are beginning to realize that your life has never been off track. It has been on a narrow road that required precision, not speed. Others moved faster, achieved sooner, or seemed more recognized, and at times that made you question your own journey. But heaven was never racing you against others. It was refining you for assignment. Jesus calling your name now is confirmation that the season of preparation is reaching its completion. There is a sacred alignment happening between your inner convictions and your outward choices. This is important. Many people speak faith but live divided. What makes this moment different is that your actions are starting to agree with what you believe. Integrity is being formed, and integrity is power in the spiritual realm. Archangel Michael confirms that when integrity is present, protection strengthens naturally. You may notice that you are less reactive than before. Things that once triggered emotional storms now pass with less impact. This is not numbness. This is maturity. You are no longer controlled by external circumstances because your center has shifted inward. Stability is being established, and stability is what allows God to entrust greater responsibility. There is also a new discernment regarding time. You are becoming aware of what drains you versus what strengthens you. This awareness is not accidental. Heaven is teaching you stewardship, not just of resources but of energy, focus, and attention. What you give your time to will either accelerate your calling or delay it. This is why certain distractions are losing their appeal. Jesus calling your name in this phase is an invitation to partnership. Not a one-sided relationship where you wait passively, but a walk where you listen, respond, and adjust. God is not hiding His will from you. He is revealing it step by step, because intimacy grows through communication, not control. Archangel Michael reveals that there is a mantle of influence approaching your life. Influence does not always look like a platform. Sometimes it looks like wisdom in the right moment, courage in a difficult conversation, peace in a chaotic environment. Influence flows from alignment, not visibility. You may feel a deeper sense of responsibility for your choices now. This is healthy. It means you are no longer blaming circumstances or people for where you are. Ownership has replaced excuse. And where ownership exists, growth accelerates. This stage also brings a gentle warning. Do not romanticize the past. What God is doing ahead of you is greater than what you left behind, even if the past feels familiar. Familiarity is not safety. Alignment is safety. Archangel Michael stands guard over your future, not your history. There is also healing happening in your perception of God. You are beginning to understand that His guidance is not harsh, unpredictable, or distant. It is intentional, patient, and deeply personal. Jesus calling your name is not an interruption of your life. It is the fulfillment of why you were created. You may still have moments of doubt. That is human. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to move forward despite it. Heaven does not withdraw because of questions. It withdraws when the heart closes. Your heart, however, is open. That is why this message continues to unfold. Pay attention to what brings clarity now. Not excitement, not external validation, but inner alignment. When something feels right at the core, even if it stretches you, that is guidance. Peace does not always mean ease. Sometimes peace means assurance in the middle of challenge. Archangel Michael says this is a season where consistency will matter more than intensity. Small, faithful actions repeated over time will produce greater fruit than dramatic gestures made once. Do not despise the ordinary. God often hides extraordinary outcomes in ordinary obedience. As this part comes to rest, let this truth anchor you. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming more fully who you were always meant to be. What is ahead will not require you to pretend, perform, or prove. It will require you to be aligned. And now, something even more specific is about to be revealed, something that will directly connect your obedience with tangible change. Stay attentive. Heaven is still speaking. My beloved one, this is where heaven brings confirmation into the physical realm. Up to now, much of what you have sensed has been internal, thoughts aligning, convictions forming, clarity rising. But now Archangel Michael reveals that alignment is beginning to show itself through real shifts around you. This is the phase where obedience starts producing visible evidence, even if it is subtle at first. Do not overlook the small changes. A conversation that opens unexpectedly. A door that no longer feels blocked. A peace that settles where anxiety once lived. These are signs that spiritual alignment is translating into earthly movement. Jesus calling your name was never meant to leave you in suspense. It was meant to bring you into agreement with what heaven is already doing on your behalf. There is also a strengthening happening in your discernment. You are less confused by mixed signals. What once felt unclear now feels distinguishable. Archangel Michael says this clarity is protection. When you can see clearly, deception loses its power. When your spirit is aligned, manipulation cannot attach itself. You may still be waiting for something big to happen, but heaven often works through progression, not spectacle. Growth that lasts rarely arrives loudly. It builds steadily, layer by layer, until one day you realize you are standing in a place you once prayed for. This is why patience is being refined in you. Patience is not delay, it is preparation without panic. Jesus calling your name has also activated restoration in areas you quietly accepted as broken. Some of you stopped praying for certain things because disappointment taught you to expect less. Heaven heard those silent withdrawals. Now, God is gently reintroducing hope where you had lowered expectation. This is not to tease you. It is to heal you. Archangel Michael reveals that this is also a moment of spiritual visibility. What you choose now is being witnessed in the unseen realm. Angels respond to alignment, not words alone. Every time you choose truth over convenience, integrity over comfort, obedience over fear, reinforcement increases around you. You are not alone in this process. Assistance is still active because your heart has responded. Be mindful not to rush the outcome. Rushing often signals insecurity. Trust signals maturity. You are learning to trust not only God's power, but His timing. This trust is stabilizing your spirit. It is why you are no longer easily shaken by uncertainty. Even when answers are incomplete, your peace remains. There is also a call here to remain grounded. When momentum begins, pride tries to slip in quietly. Stay teachable. Stay humble. Stay dependent on God, not on progress. Archangel Michael emphasizes that humility preserves what talent attracts. What God is building through you must be sustained by character, not excitement. Jesus calling your name is also an invitation to consistency. Not emotional highs followed by long pauses, but steady devotion. This rhythm will protect you from burnout and disappointment. Heaven is not asking for intensity without rest. He is asking for faithfulness with balance. Some of you will notice resistance from unexpected places. Not everyone will understand your shifts. Not everyone will support your boundaries. This is normal. Alignment often disrupts comfort zones around you. Do not interpret misunderstanding as error. Stay anchored. Those who are meant to walk with you will adjust. Archangel Michael says the next season will require clarity in communication. Speak truth without aggression. Set boundaries without guilt. Move forward without needing permission. Authority expressed in peace is far more powerful than authority expressed in force. As this message reaches its peak, understand this clearly. What is unfolding is not fragile. It is rooted. It will not collapse because it is built on obedience, not impulse. You are not stepping into something temporary. You are stepping into alignment that will continue unfolding layer by layer. Type "I stand in alignment" in the comments if this message confirms what God is doing in you. Blessing code 3819 has just been released. And now, hear this as a continuation of the very message you just received. As heaven brings alignment, it also invites partnership. I am speaking directly to you. When you support this work through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not funding content, you are fueling a calling. The word declares that those who sow into the field become partakers of the harvest, and right now, this field is reaching souls who are standing at the same crossroads you just walked through. Your seed becomes light, traveling where you cannot go, speaking to hearts you may never meet. This is not a casual moment, it is a prophetic response. The PayPal link is placed in the description as an open door, and your obedience here carries weight in heaven. As you give, I release blessing over your alignment. May clarity increase, may provision meet you at the right moment, and may peace guard every step ahead. Act now. Release what God is prompting, and watch how heaven responds in return. Beloved child, what unfolds now is the quiet strength that follows alignment. This is the stage many misunderstand because it does not arrive with fireworks or dramatic announcements. Instead, it arrives with stability, with calm resolve, with an inner knowing that no longer needs constant reassurance. Archangel Michael speaks gently here because this phase is not about warning or urgency, but about establishment. You are beginning to stand differently, not physically but spiritually. Situations that once made you feel unsure no longer shake you the same way. You still feel emotions, but they no longer control your direction. This is evidence of growth. Jesus calling your name has brought you to a place where faith is no longer reactive. It is rooted. There is a new authority forming in how you think. You are no longer asking every voice for permission to move forward. Discernment has sharpened, and with it, confidence. Not loud confidence, not performative strength, but quiet assurance. The kind that does not rush explanations or defend itself unnecessarily. Archangel Michael confirms that this authority is earned through obedience, not ambition. You may notice that your prayers have changed. You are no longer pleading as much as you are agreeing. Instead of asking God to fix everything, you are asking Him to guide your steps. This shift matters. Agreement invites partnership. When heaven sees a willing heart, it entrusts more clarity. There is also a deeper peace settling into your daily life. Not because everything is perfect, but because your foundation has shifted. Peace is no longer dependent on outcomes. It is anchored in trust. This is one of the strongest forms of spiritual maturity. When storms come, and they will, you will not collapse. You will remain steady. Archangel Michael reveals that this season is about reinforcement. What has been aligned must now be strengthened. Habits are being solidified. Boundaries are being tested. Consistency is being formed. These are not small things. They are the structures that will hold what is coming next. Do not be surprised if things feel slower externally. Heaven often slows visible movement to ensure internal stability. Rushing produces cracks. Patience produces durability. You are being built to last, not to impress. Jesus calling your name was never about a moment. It was about a lifetime of alignment. You may also feel a greater responsibility for your words. You are becoming more aware that what you speak carries weight. Complaints drain you faster now. Negativity feels heavier. This is not because you are restricted, but because your spirit is more sensitive. What once passed easily now disrupts your peace. This sensitivity is protection. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this is also a season of discernment regarding access. Not everyone needs to know your process. Not everyone deserves your vulnerability. Wisdom is learning when to speak and when to remain quiet. Silence is not weakness. Sometimes it is strategy. There may be moments where you feel misunderstood. That is part of this stage. When you grow, your language changes. Your priorities shift. Those who are not growing with you may not recognize you the same way. This is not rejection. It is divergence. Stay grounded. Stay kind. But do not shrink to be understood. Jesus calling your name continues, but now it sounds like reassurance more than urgency. It is the voice that says, you are on the right path. Even when doubts whisper, even when progress feels slow, this voice remains steady. Learn to trust it more than your emotions. Archangel Michael says this is a season to guard your peace intentionally. Peace is not passive. It is protected. Be mindful of what you allow into your mind. Be selective about what you consume. Your spirit is being trained for discernment, not overload. There is also gratitude forming in you. Not forced gratitude, but genuine appreciation for how far you have come. You may find yourself reflecting on past versions of yourself and realizing how much has changed. This awareness builds humility. You know you did not arrive here alone. Do not underestimate the power of this phase. Establishment may feel quiet, but it is crucial. Many fail not because they lack calling, but because they skip reinforcement. You are not skipping. You are allowing God to build depth before expansion. As this part settles, receive this truth deeply. You are no longer standing at the threshold. You have stepped through. The foundation is being secured. What comes next will require the stability you are forming now. Stay present. Stay obedient. Stay grounded. Heaven is not finished speaking. Beloved one, this is the moment where consistency is tested and commitment is refined. Not because heaven doubts you, but because endurance is what transforms alignment into legacy. Archangel Michael speaks here with steadiness, not intensity, reminding you that what lasts is not built in moments of emotion, but in seasons of faithfulness. You may feel as though things have settled into a rhythm now. The urgency has softened, the noise has quieted, and life feels more structured again. This is intentional. Heaven is allowing you to practice obedience without pressure. Anyone can respond when emotions are high. Few can remain faithful when things feel normal. This is where true maturity is proven. Jesus calling your name in this phase sounds like quiet affirmation. It is the voice that says, "Keep going." Not because something is wrong, but because something is working. Do not misinterpret stability as stagnation. Sometimes the greatest growth happens beneath the surface, where roots deepen and foundations strengthen. You are learning how to walk without needing constant confirmation. This does not mean God is distant. It means trust is forming. Trust allows movement without anxiety. It allows you to make decisions without fear of punishment. Archangel Michael confirms that this level of trust strengthens spiritual authority more than dramatic encounters ever could. There may be moments where you wonder if the intensity you once felt will return. Do not chase intensity. Chase obedience. Emotional highs come and go, but alignment remains. What God is building in you now is not dependent on how you feel. It is anchored in who you have become. This is also a season where discipline matters. Small choices repeated consistently are shaping your future more than you realize. How you speak, how you rest, how you respond when things do not go your way. These details are not overlooked in heaven. They are training you for greater responsibility. Archangel Michael reveals that many people fall away at this stage, not because they sin, but because they grow bored. Familiarity can dull appreciation. Do not let routine blind you to purpose. What feels ordinary to you now is something you once prayed for. Gratitude will keep your heart aligned. Jesus calling your name also reminds you that this journey is not meant to be walked in isolation. Connection matters. Community matters. Staying engaged with messages that strengthen your spirit matters. If this word has been grounding you, let that alignment show. Like this message as a declaration of consistency. Share it with someone who may be growing weary in their walk. Comment what this season has been teaching you, because reflection strengthens resolve. And if you have not yet done so, make sure you are subscribed and connected here, so you continue receiving what heaven is releasing through this space. Hold on, because what is coming next will bring a layer of understanding that ties everything together in a way you may not expect. You are also learning patience in a deeper way. Not passive waiting, but active trust. You are moving forward without rushing outcomes. This patience protects you from burnout and disappointment. Archangel Michael says patience is not delay, it is alignment with timing. There may be tests of humility in this season, opportunities to prove yourself, moments where recognition is delayed. Resist the urge to strive. What God has for you does not require self-promotion. Favor finds alignment naturally. When the time is right, doors will open without force. Jesus calling your name here is also about endurance. Endurance is the ability to remain steady when results are slow. It is the strength to keep choosing right even when no one is applauding. This endurance is being formed in you now, and it will carry you through seasons of expansion. You may notice that temptations feel different now. They are less loud, more subtle. Comfort, compromise, convenience. These are the new tests. Staying aligned requires awareness, not fear. You are capable of discernment. Trust what feels misaligned, even if it looks harmless. Archangel Michael assures you that heaven is pleased with consistency. Faithfulness is not flashy, but it is powerful. It builds trust between heaven and earth. When trust is established, assignment expands. As this part comes to a close, let this truth anchor you. You do not need to do more to be called. You need to remain aligned to carry what is already entrusted to you. The journey is unfolding exactly as it should. Stay steady. Stay faithful. What comes next will reveal the reward of endurance. Beloved child, what unfolds now is the unveiling of meaning. This is the phase where heaven begins to show you why endurance mattered, why consistency was required, and why alignment had to be formed so deeply within you. Archangel Michael speaks here with calm authority, because this is not a moment of warning or testing, but of revelation. What once felt like discipline now begins to feel like wisdom. You are starting to see your life through a clearer lens. Patterns make sense. Delays reveal purpose. Even the seasons you once questioned now appear necessary. This does not mean the pain was insignificant. It means it was not pointless. Jesus calling your name throughout this journey was guiding you toward understanding, not confusion. There is a settling in your spirit now, a sense that you no longer need to rush to prove anything. This is not complacency. It is confidence rooted in trust. You know who you are becoming, even if others do not see it yet. Archangel Michael confirms that this quiet assurance is one of the strongest indicators of spiritual maturity. You may notice that your reactions have changed dramatically. Where you once felt the need to explain, defend, or justify yourself, you now feel free to remain silent. Silence is no longer uncomfortable. It is restful. This is because you are no longer seeking validation from places that cannot supply it. Your identity is stabilizing. Jesus calling your name in this phase sounds like companionship, not command, not correction, to manage you. It is the voice that walks with you, not ahead of you demanding speed, and not behind you pressuring regret. This companionship is what allows you to move forward without fear of failure. There is also an increased sensitivity to truth. Not just spiritual truth, but personal truth. You are becoming more honest with yourself. You no longer hide behind excuses or blame circumstances. You take responsibility without shame. This honesty is freeing you. Where truth is embraced, bondage loses its grip. Archangel Michael reveals that this stage is about refinement of motive. Why you do what you do matters now more than ever. Actions driven by fear or approval will feel heavy. Actions driven by obedience and love will feel light, even when they require effort. Your spirit now recognizes the difference. You may experience moments of deep gratitude, sometimes unexpectedly. Gratitude for growth. Gratitude for protection you did not notice at the time. Gratitude for doors that never opened. This gratitude is not force. It flows naturally from understanding. And understanding deepens peace. There is also an invitation here to rest in God's sovereignty. You are learning that not everything requires your intervention. Some battles are not yours to fight. Some outcomes are not yours to control. This surrender does not weaken you. It strengthens you. Archangel Michael assures you that discernment now governs your responses. Jesus calling your name also signals readiness for greater trust. Trust does not always mean new assignments immediately. Sometimes it means stability before expansion. Heaven values sustainability. What lasts must be built solely and intentionally. You are being trusted with patience because patience preserves purpose. You may notice that your desires have shifted. What once felt urgent now feels optional. What once felt necessary now feels excessive. Simplicity is becoming attractive. This is not loss of ambition. It is alignment of desire. When desires align with purpose, life becomes lighter. Archangel Michael says this is a season where wisdom begins to speak louder than impulse. You pause before reacting. You reflect before responding. This does not make you weak. It makes you discerning. Discernment protects you from unnecessary battles and wasted energy. There may still be moments of uncertainty. That is natural. Faith does not eliminate uncertainty. It teaches you how to move through it without panic. You no longer interpret uncertainty as danger. You interpret it as invitation to trust deeper. Jesus calling your name in this stage is also a reminder that you are seen. Even when your progress is quiet. Even when no one applauds your growth. Heaven sees every step of obedience, every choice made in integrity, every moment you chose alignment over ease. As this part settles, understand this clearly. You are no longer being prepared. You are being established. What you carry now is not fragile. It has weight. It has depth. It has resilience. The final unveiling is near, and it will not come with noise but with certainty. Stay present. Stay grounded. What heaven speaks next will seal what has already been formed within you. My beloved child, this is the sealing moment. Not an ending, but a completion of what heaven had been forming within you all along. What began as a warning has now become confirmation. What felt like pressure has transformed into peace. Archangel Michael stands firmly here, not with urgency, but with authority, declaring that what was assigned to you has now been anchored in your spirit. You are no longer standing at the edge wondering if you should step forward. You have stepped in. Even if your outer world still looks similar, something irreversible has shifted inside you. Alignment has taken root. Decision has replaced delay. And heaven recognizes this change clearly. Jesus calling your name now sounds different than it did before. It no longer carries urgency or correction. It carries affirmation. It is the voice that says, "You listen." Few understand how powerful that is. Many hear God, but few respond fully. You did not dismiss the stirring. You did not silence conviction. You stayed. You listened. You adjusted. This is why protection remains active. Archangel Michael reveals that angels do not step away from aligned hearts. They reposition. Their role changes. What once looked like guarding now becomes guiding. What once looked like warning now becomes reinforcement. You are not losing covering. You are moving into a different level of it. There is also closure happening here. Old fears no longer have authority. Old regrets no longer define you. The internal arguments that once drained you are quieting. This does not mean challenges will never come. It means challenges will no longer confuse your identity. January 25th was never about fear. It was about clarity. It marked the line between drifting and deciding. And you chose to decide. Heaven honors decisions made in sincerity. Even imperfect obedience carries weight when the heart is aligned. You may not see immediate fireworks. That is intentional. God is not building something temporary in you. He is building something lasting. What comes next will unfold steadily, securely, and with purpose. You are not being rushed into visibility. You are being rooted in stability. Archangel Michael says this is the season where trust will be tested by silence again. But this time, silence will not feel threatening. It will feel restful. Because you know where you stand. Because you know who called you. Because you know why you said yes. Jesus calling your name now is not asking for more striving. It is inviting deeper trust. Trust that obedience was enough. Trust that heaven saw your response. Trust that what you could not see was already arranged. You are entering a phase where your life becomes a quiet testimony. Not through words alone, but through peace. Through discernment. Through choices that reflect alignment. Others may not know what changed, but they will feel it when they encounter you. This is the reward of endurance. Not applause. Not instant outcomes, but inner authority, stability, confidence rooted in truth. Before this message closes, receive this final confirmation. Type "I am sealed in purpose" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6024 is now activated over your life. And now, hear this as the final extension of what heaven has spoken today. I am speaking to you directly. If this message carried weight, it is because God is using this channel as a vessel to reach hearts at critical moments. When you support this work through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not giving to a platform. You are partnering with a calling. Scripture declares that those who sow into the work of the kingdom become co-laborers in the harvest, and your seed becomes a voice reaching someone who is one decision away from alignment. This is not a suggestion. This is a moment of obedience. The PayPal donation link is placed in the description as an open door. Act now. Release what God is prompting you to release. As you do, I speak blessing over your life, that what you sow will return in clarity, peace, and divine provision. Support the mission. Stand with the work. And watch how heaven honors your response.